and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me. Not to shit on all of our other episodes and not to like make this like an impossible standard, but I have, no offense everyone else, I truly have never been more excited to film an episode or record an episode. We have Shan Boodram here, and you are, I told you as soon as you walked in that you are like my friend crush, but also like I feel like that you are the epitome of this podcast. Like if this podcast had a mascot, it wouldn't be me, it would be you.
This is a fucking incredible introduction.
I
received straight to the womb.
I like Melissa can testify. Like this is like, as soon as she met you, she was like, we have to have her on our podcast. And I looked you up and I was like, oh my God. Also, I've seen your MeUndies ad. Please tell the people what you do. I mean, you're a sexologist, which is already like just fucking cool.
Yes.
I'm like here for it. But yeah, explain to everyone what you do.
I refer to myself as the Walmart greeter of intimacy. And that essentially means I want to get the average person excited about learning about sex, love, and relationships. And so that's what I do. I look for entry points for people who have never thought, how can learning about attachment theories and orgasm recipes and consent massively improve every area of my life? Because it's crazy that interpersonal relations are the spice of life. It's why we're alive. It's our superpower. And yet we never learn about them. So I just am here to correct that issue by getting people excited to learn.
I'm so fucking excited. We also have to have you back. So this is an advice podcast. If you guys are new here. Wow. Did I even intro it? Welcome to Don't Blame Me.
Yeah.
You haven't done any of that.
Well, welcome to Don't Blame Me. It's an advice podcast. If you want to call in, the phone number is 310-694-0976.
Is it live?
No. They leave voicemails.
Oh shit, I'm about to say.
And if you're an international listener, you can send us an audio file at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. So I don't read I don't listen to the calls before, but like I get summaries. And so I tried to pick ones that I think like would especially be great for you. But I think we have to have you on again. I mean, I know you're busy, but I'm just telling you, we're going to have you on again. And I want to like get specific, super like sexually kind of calls. I mean, we love doing those in general, but like I also want to bring our friend on here.
Who's our friend?
Our friend who struggles with orgasms. And all we do is like every time she probably hates us right now.
I talked to her the other day about it.
Yeah. Every time I see her, I'm like, we got to talk. How you doing? Have you tried the thing with the bathtub? Like faucet? Have we talked about this? Like constantly. And so I'm like, maybe we put her in the middle and we can just like.
I love that you said that because actually that's a really great way for people to like introductory understand their body. I always say with water, how do you masturbate? Are you like jet stream? Are you the pulsing? Do you like to turn the faucet on and get that direct, really hard?
I mean, I'm a fan of like bathtub, like that bathtub faucet. Is that what it's called? Like
you need a lot of pressure then.
But no, I will like maneuver my body and also use my hands in a way that it's not like
Niagara Falls net.
Yeah, no, because then also like then I'm just like I have to pee.
Yeah,
because I'm just like I feel like I'm just filling up from the inside out. So no, but yeah, that's like I think that was the first way I masturbated. But I also think it's like still to this day I'm like this is the easiest way. I can do a deep conditioner mask in my hair. I'm like this is like self-care to a whole other level.
Can I tell you something? My parents, when I was like maybe like 13 years old, introduced this removable shower head into my bathroom.
All I've ever wanted.
Changed my life. And recently I went back home. They changed it.
What?
It was like a ritual for me to go home and have this very specific orgasm with the shower head that has like been a monumental part of my upbringing, and now it's gone.
I remember the first time I read that in Cosmo, that people were like, removable shower heads, like game changer. And I remember I was like 15 and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I want this. But no, I've never had one. I've always wanted one.
You should get one.
I should get one.
I mean, especially if you're a faucet maneuverer, there's not a lot of maneuvering with that because you can change the setting to really like make your magic.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but then I have to stand. Oh, no. How long is it?
Listen,
can I say it?
I do it. It's like a stretch. So speaking of self-care, you put your foot on either end of the bathtub. So like my parents had like a bathtub where like the walls are there.
I'm going to fall.
It's a nice little, you don't fall because you're wedged. Your feet are wedged. And I know I've gotten older because like when I was young, it was easy to do that. And now it's a struggle. Now
I
just hear all the cracks. Yeah, I'm sore the next day.
Ouch. No, I've definitely had it before. We're like, ow, that was a position I was in for far too long. I'm right against that tub. Well, I'm just so fucking excited for you to be here and give advice. You're going to be so good at this, obviously. But I feel like I'm going to learn a lot.
Hi, Meghan. I'm 21 years old. I have been with my boyfriend for about a year and a half now. Basically, like a year into our relationship, we were moving. We already lived together. I felt kind of like weird, you know, when you like have a weird feeling about your relationship. I did a naughty thing and I looked at his phone and on said phone were photos of semi-nude photos of my friends that he took off of my phone. So basically he like snuck on my phone in the middle of the night, took a bunch of pictures like of my phone. Like I'm assuming he didn't want to send the pictures to him because then I would see it somehow. I don't know. I confronted him like immediately. I'm a Leo, so it's really straightforward. And we basically like talked things out. That was like 6 months ago. It still bothers me, and I will like every once in a while like bring it up, and I know it bothers me because I still bring it up, and I don't know how to make it stop bothering me because I feel really manipulative because we did get past it and we did like already discuss it, and it's been 6 months. So I don't know if that's like part of me is like, yeah, your feelings are valid, but the other part of me is like, you can't keep like throwing this at him. So if you have any advice to make me stop being that crazy girlfriend, that would be really great. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
What a great question.
Yeah. Also, like, what photos did you have of your friend? Like, I'm like wondering what kind of photos these were of your friend.
Semi-nude.
I know, but I'm like, if you're like girls like being like, oh, let me take some like real hot cute pictures of like for you, and all, like I love the idea that like in high school that was like my phone was filled with that of me and my friends and being like, we're gonna take like really tasteful cute pictures to send to like our boyfriends or like who are at summer camp right now, and like I just have this image of what like these photos are.
So you basically have these photos in your phone.
Oh my, I mean not anymore. I wish I did. High school me 100% did. Well, what's your sign, first of all? I forgot to ask you this.
I'm an Aries. I am not a believer in astrology. And so when she even said, like, I'm a Leo, so I'm like, I feel like it's a basic human instinct that, hey, you've violated my privacy and you've taken photos that against consent of my friends and of myself. That's a problem. I'm going to say something.
But that's also a very Aries reaction because you're also a fire sign.
I feel
and
like
Leos are a fire sign.
Show of hands who wouldn't say something if they saw that, right?
You
like, well, I think we all.
You would? No, would you?
Yeah.
Okay. Truthfully. Okay.
Yeah, everybody would.
But all of us here are, I mean, I am a believer.
All of us here are people.
All of us here are people. It's true. It's true. But I mean, my best friend would never. She's like very like, would much more being like, oh, let me like, I'm not going to bring it up. I'll deal with it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's probably not her personality. It's her personality type versus
that's
like what month she was born. But nonetheless, I digress. I'm an Aries. And so yes, to your point, maybe all Aries would say something and all Leos would say something.
As a Leo, I would say something.
Okay, good.
But I'm also just confrontational. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this really like funny enough, I literally this was very similar, not the same situation to like I had a therapy session yesterday and my whole thing with my therapist, I was I need to be, oh my God, go twice a week. So fun.
Fuck it up.
But one of the things I had said to her, I was like, it was very much like me being like, I want a timeline to get over stuff. And like, it's so frustrating. And I so understand that like you just want to be over it because if you think about it in like months wise, it doesn't really matter. And even if you think that you're still bringing it up, and this is me projecting, but like, even if you're still bringing it up and everything like that, I think you have to kind of look at like how you feel about it now versus how you felt about it when it happened. And even if it's like a little bit better, that's already better. And that's showing you that it's just going to take time. I don't think you're ever going to fully get over something. I think like we don't just like totally forget and move it, but we can move past it. But like, it's like trust that needs to be regained and rebuilt. And as my therapist says, there has to be the time in which like everything's good in your life and you feel like, okay, that needs to be the majority and like the bigger chunk of time versus like the trauma time or whatever. She's like, if the trauma time's a long time, she's like, you can't say like, oh, 6 months or a year, like, oh, I should be better. Cause it's like, that's not what your automatic instinct and feeling and reaction is to it. I think it's like, it sucks to say that it's time. And that was literally me yesterday crying. Be like, just more time? Are you kidding me? Like, I just want to be done. Like, can you just give me tips to be done? But yeah, I think like, I don't think it's manipulative. I think like in my mind, I also go to like, maybe there is something that he's not doing that makes you feel like you need to bring it up. Like I know when I have issues in relationships or whatever, and then like a need is not being met, or I don't feel like seen, or I don't feel like I'm getting enough attention, like that's when I'll throw that. And it's not necessarily manipulative, but it's kind of like, that's like that insecurity and trigger thing, and you're looking for validation. So I wonder if he's not giving you that security that you need. And I don't think he should be I don't know. I think it's a fucked up thing to do in like a way that I don't think that like, this isn't like a, come on, babe, like just get over it. It was just like me going through your phone and like taking all these pictures and like, like jacking off.
Sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous, but I think that that's because this is one area in life where we just expect that everyone's supposed to figure it out. Like there's a lot of natural human instincts that 200 years ago were useful, but now are not. Like we have developed far quicker than our DNA and our biology have. And so, for example, violence, which used to be a helpful tendency 200 years ago and a very applicable one, now is not. But when we think about how we socialize people out of violence, it's not the first time you hit somebody like, how dare you? You're a terrible person. Like, get away from me. It's over. Like, we're like, hey, we don't hit. We do this. It's a very slow process, and we give people outlets for violence. Like we have a very nurturing approach, and of course, as you get into adult years, there's legal ramifications for violence, similar to sexual misconduct. So all that to say is that when it comes to sexuality, again, our natural urges are supposed to be that proximity is the number one indicator of a sexual bond. So if I am in close connection with somebody, and again, 200 years ago, a man who was attracted to 50 people in the community and was able to impregnate 10 of them was a savior because he was populating the farms and like all the different shops around town. So he would have been an integral part of the community. Now, years later, you're not supposed to be attracted to people based on proximity. You're supposed to choose one person. And if you're attracted to that one person, everybody who's around them is a no-go for territory. So your natural instincts go against what we've now been socialized into. So I would just say, we just live in a world that doesn't give a lot of grace for us not to make the right sexual choices at all times, and for us not to be completely on brand with where we are socially in terms of connection and attraction. So I would probably just research a bit. I always find there's so much more healing in knowing the why behind things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because if you don't know why your partner did that and beyond like, how could you do this to me? Don't you love me? And he may not even know why.
Yeah.
We don't learn these things in school. We're not taught about them. He doesn't know about sexual bonds. And so he's like, I must be a shit human being. And he's trying to rationalize his feelings and his experiences. And as long as the reason why he did it is that he's a bad person, how can you get over that?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a consistent. Yeah. If you look at it like he's just a human who hasn't been able to manage this part of his humanity yet. Yeah. And he needs somebody who's going to work with him slowly, create an environment which he can change and create an environment which he can be imperfect and there's not long-term ramifications. But I love the point that you made where in that, you have a right to feel away. Yeah. And give yourself that right, but also try to give that person some grace of like, okay, I understand why you would be attracted to my friends or what's going on with you, but let's talk about that because it's not okay.
Yeah, because I think it needs to be a conversation because you're exactly right. I'm a big fan of the why. Like the why is the only like, and that's also like the big therapy thing that I'm like, let's figure out why, because then you can trace things back and you can also retrain your brain, because we also as women in general, we tend to make everything about ourselves. And I think like if it's an awkward or uncomfortable conversation, I think even though it's been time, if you guys haven't had a sit down and be like, let's talk about exactly why this happened. Like, let's talk about what you're into. Let's talk about these things. Like, is it, and like we've had other calls before where girls have found photos of other girls, like a folder of like all these pictures of the girlfriend and like lots of other girls. And I was like, your boyfriend probably has a fantasy about girl on girl. And he's looking at pictures of you next to these other pictures of girls. But I think there is like a shame aspect that maybe he's not saying something and he's not saying it one. And it's like, okay, let's just move on. I'm so sorry. Like, it's not going to happen again. But I also think it's empowering for me to know that like, or if I was in the situation, not that there's something that I can do to prevent something, but also to know that like my partner's being super open and honest with me. So like, he's not like, you don't want anyone to hide a reason why they're doing something. Also, and yeah, if the reason why he's doing it is like he's just a dick, better to know than to just be like, oh, let's move on and never talk about it again. Because I think that's why you keep bringing it up, is because I think that there's still stuff there. There's stuff that's still uncovered. I know for me, when I can't drop shit, it's because there's still shit there. Like, I'm not, if it's done, I'm not going to beat the dead horse, like, or anything like that. But I think like
I also think we live in a world though that touts that love is one size fits all. And so if your partner is expressing an interest in your friends, they must not care about you. Even if that's so far from the truth. And again, more so speaks to his biology than what his psychology is choosing. I think we live in a world that says like, there must be something really, really wrong here. As opposed to, this is just a natural byproduct of his humanity that he hasn't gotten under control. Let me give grace for that. I have the my sexual fantasies are out of control. Like, I'm married, and the things that I think about during sex, they're awful. But I also read a lot about them, and I'm like, oh, I know why I have those fantasies. I know where that's coming from. And like, that's a harmless way for me to do that. And my partner's aware that I have fantasies.
You can communicate that. Yeah.
Yes, but I also have the benefit of being in this space. Yeah. So I don't know if this guy is going to have the wherewithal to be like, well, based on my biological sexual bond and my pheromones, what's happening. He's just going to be like, I have seen in movies that if I do this, I'm a shit person, so I must be a shit person. When in actuality, I just think that it's just more about a humanity thing.
Hi guys, so I'm about to be a junior in college, and recently me and one of my other college friends got high in a blanket fort, and then we hooked up. And he's a year younger than me, and we've kind of been like this friends with benefits thing, like a month and a half or so. And sex is great. Like, for me, it's amazing. I come basically every time, and like, it's crazy because like he doesn't come once, and like, I feel bad for him, like not for my like self-esteem or anything, but like for him, like, so he was a virgin going into this, and I was not, but does take antidepressants, and I think that might be the reason why, but like, we've talked about it, and it seems like it's not impossible to make him come or anything. So like, I don't know, if you could give me advice of like how to handle that, and like to add on, because of his depression and everything, he's been reliant, like really dependent on weed, and so with that, his parents found out and like had him get like clean and like cut it out completely. But every time he comes over, or like every once in a while when he comes over, he wants to smoke, and I'm down, but like I do feel like I'm hindering him and like enabling him. So like, should I not give him weed because he is trying to be clean? So I don't know. If you can help me, thanks, y'all.
That was just like, and then also,
yeah, this is like such a funny, like prime example of, I think, of just, I don't want to say ignorance on like the behalf of his parents or whatever, but like your son's going to be on antidepressants and you're like totally fine, which I'm all in favor of antidepressants, but they're like, weed, get off that shit. That shit's addictive. I'm like, well, I mean, like I take Adderall because I have ADHD. That's more addictive than weed.
Yes.
Like prescription drugs are exponentially more addictive, more dependency, bigger issues, more of like a quote unquote gateway drug than weed. And it's also such like a healthy way to deal with anxiety and depression that like, I think to address that part, like being like clean from weed, especially if he's like, it's helping him feel less depressed, as someone who like takes CBD daily for anxiety and depression, like it's a game changer. And it's something that's so great and fantastic, and not something that he should cut out at the expense of like feeling like, because it's like a bad thing to do. So I would just say like, fuck his parents and be like, you can smoke here whenever you want. It would be my first thing. But I mean, what do you think about it all?
First of all, again, great question. Yeah. I mean, this is like, you got a good ass audience. This is a bomb ass audience you've curated. I love this question because it truly speaks to the breadth of what sexuality is. Mm-hmm. And you have a sexual partner who is showing up, whom a good friend of mine also takes antidepressants. And to answer her question, absolutely, that's what a lot of the issues is, because I mean, it's a mood alterer. It alters brain chemicals, and that makes alterations in your body. Some of those alterations are positive and some are not so positive. But my friend who takes antidepressants was like, it was basically a decision for me of, do I orgasm or do I leave the house? Yeah. Because my anxiety and depression was so pervasive that I was unable to get the courage up to leave. Mm-hmm. And so it was actually smoking weed ended up being what her balance was, where she could kind of scale back her dosage a little bit, smoke some weed to balance it out. Anyhow, but he'll figure it out, and it sounds like he is actively looking for what his balance is. Some of us are gifted to have that natural brain balance and those natural brain chemicals where we don't have this issue, which it can be difficult for us to empathize, but everybody is different. Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to sexuality, the crazy thing that people think is that they have complete control over it. Mm-hmm. Like, I have control over my orgasm, over my libido. We hear this often with women where it's like, they're not orgasming. It's like, well, you're not opening up enough mentally. And it's like, maybe you're not stimulating me physically, or maybe my body doesn't have the sensitivity in that area. Mm-hmm. Like I say to people all the time when they're having these like, my partner's not doing doing this sexually. Like, why aren't they doing it? And you're like, okay, do me a favor. Tell your pancreas to stop working right now. Check in with your kidneys and be like, you know what? I want you to put out a purple dye this time. You don't have this control over your body. Your body's going to do what it does. And it's finding people around you who are willing to go through the process with you. So I love the fact that he's giving you orgasms. Yeah. He's still actively hooking up. I actually had somebody who worked with me where a lot of the times what happens is the person's on antidepressants. One goes through erectile dysfunction, so can't maintain an erection or get an erection, and then starts just stopping all sexual contact altogether because of the shame. And in many ways, putting that on their partner, like, I'm not in the mood for you. And then explaining that it's coming from a place of insecurity because their body is doing things that they don't want or not doing the things that they do want. So this honestly sounds like best case scenario for their scenario. And it sounds like he's dedicated to figuring out what his balance is. And through that, you're getting an orgasm and sounds like a nice partner.
Yeah. And like a regular orgasm. I'm very excited for you.
Oh, I love the
I also love that the first time that they like hooked up was like they made a fort and they were high. And I was like,
it's very cute.
Yeah, I'm here for that. I would also just suggest, I don't know how much you guys are like talking about stuff that he's into. And I think, like you said, antidepressants, I think like that's the cause. I have lots of friends who both like men and women who've been on antidepressants and it's the exact same thing. And like maybe start by like watching porn together if you're into that and like seeing that, or like mutual masturbation, like something that doesn't necessarily like what I think is good about like mutual masturbation. It's not I don't think sex should be like an end game thing in general. Like, oh, we are all just racing to this like one point. But like when it's that, it's a little less, oh, we're responsible for each other. And it's more like, hey, we're doing this together. This is our own thing. Like if like, who cares where this ends up? It's just kind of like trying it out. There's a little bit, and maybe for him a little bit like less shame in like the sense of being like, oh, he's not having sex, like penetrating and then not getting hard, like something like that, where it can feel like a little like lower stakes in that kind of way. Because I think from what I've known, it's about people finding if the chemicals and like the immediate like physical reaction isn't there, and it's doing a lot more prep work to get there. And then he might not have ever had to do that before. Maybe when he was like masturbating when he was younger before an antidepressants, it was just like an easier thing. So it's a learning curve to figure out like, oh, what are these additional things that I haven't even realized turned me on? And like, how can I go through all of this together? But I think like, it's also fantastic that you're his like first sexual partner and he's like comfortable talking to you about all of this stuff, especially like talking about being on antidepressants, because that's already like a pretty bad like stigma. So I have like lots of hope and faith for this.
Kudos
I'm really
to your listening skills.
You.
Like you really picked up on so many nuances from that story, and I'm like, oh yeah, she did say that.
The weed fort though is really where I'm
but we did excellent. You're great.
I mean, I love listening to other people's like sex life talks. It's like one of my favorite things.
Okay, there you go, listeners. If you want to get on the show,
truly,
they know.
Yeah,
they know.
They know. We're obsessed with that. Should we go on to the next one?
Hi, I am 19 and I recently got into my first relationship. We have been dating for a couple months and we are sexually intimate. This is my first sexual partner and I'm having issues. Like, I feel like I'm like internally slut-shaming myself. Like, I feel guilty every time I have sex. Like, the only people that know that I am sexually active are my two best friends. I can't tell my parents. Well, I could, but I'm really not trying to delve into that bucket. And I just really feel like I have like internalized slut-shaming going on, and I just don't know how to get past it. I love my boyfriend, and he makes me feel super comfortable and everything, but so I was just wondering if you had any advice on that. Thanks in advance. Bye, guys.
Do you I'm so curious about what your experience with like questions like this are for like, because we've talked about this. I think we had an episode a while ago about like, I don't think that everyone is born sex positive, because that's not how like, I don't know. That's not how our world naturally is. Yo. And so like, I remember growing up and it was like, oh my God, that girl's a slut and that sort of thing. And like, I didn't even know what I didn't even know what the term like slut was. All I knew was it was bad and you don't want to be that. And then as I got older and I started having sex, it was like, oh wait, wow, what's wrong? Like it became this whole thing of like, we grow up in a world in which, and I even grew up in a very like liberal, even like like you would call it like a sex positive way, but like, that's not how like the rest of the world is, and like media, and it still gets like infiltrated. That like even when I first started having sex, I think everyone kind of goes through that process before you're able to be sex positive. So I think like, I think this is like very, very normal. And like, as someone, like I started having sex at like 16.
Me too.
I'm like 26 now. I'm like, I'm 10 years and I'm like very sex positive. But like the first year that you have sex, it's very, you're like, what am I doing? This is so different. And also, why have I been calling all of these girls, or like, why have I been joining in as people call these other girls sluts? And I'm suddenly doing this thing that like was so taboo and terrible. But yeah,
you're bang on. I mean, I think it's just exactly what you even said to the previous caller. It's a matter of like equal amounts of time. So if you've gotten 18 years of propaganda that sex is bad, that women who have sex are shameful or slutty or dirty, et cetera, whatever language that you've received, you know, give yourself 3 years to unlearn that. Give yourself a little bit of time to work through those feelings and emotions. And I go back to understanding like the knowledge element of it. Like, why was it in society's benefit to tell women to not be sexually active? Like, where does that come from? Because
we're going to take over the world.
Right.
They're afraid of
that's
us.
the actual goddamn truth, that countries where women are more sexually liberated, actually the quality of life is better overall. So other countries where women are not as sexually liberated, like there's less access to healthcare, there is less equal rights, there's less opportunity, there's less entrepreneurialism, there's less invention. So women having sex and rights over their sexuality is actually a lifesaver. It's a world saver. Like probably nothing has made a larger impact on our global economy than women having autonomy over their bodies. So, you know, put that in your pancake and stuff it as you stroke yourself off to say, I'm saving the world by reclaiming my right to do this. I was saying this to my friend because she is celibate. It was a choice that she made for herself that she loved, but it's like starting to reconsider that and trying to really reconcile like what God has said about her sexuality versus what she knows. And I'm like, look, like God still had the right intention. You know, let's think about this. 3,000 years ago when God was like, don't have sex before marriage and limit your sexual partners. And a sexually active woman is a dirty woman, a shameful woman. That was before modern science and modern medicine. That was before birth control. So I could totally see how 2,000 years ago, the best wave would be like, probably nah.
Yeah.
Because if you get bacterial vaginosis, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like we don't have any treatment for you. So like chill on that. Like God said, don't do it. I understand that the logic behind why that many years ago, that would have been a rule that was applicable. Just not the case anymore. My favorite one to do when I'm like thinking about like, is it wrong to pleasure? Is it wrong to even self-pleasure? Is if, you know, God did not want us to masturbate or engage with our genitals, it would be in the middle of our back where it's hard to get. You know,
oh my God, like where you can't self-tan.
That one spot, yes.
Yeah, you're like, this is always dry. This part of my body has never felt moisturizer.
This is the most convenient place possible. Like you could not have set it up anymore.
That's true. You've got both hands access. I'm flexible. I could masturbate with my heel of my foot.
Oh
like,
wow, you do look very flexible.
Thank you.
I like notice that as you're sitting. Like there's like, look how stiff I am, and that goes back to me being on the bathtub masturbating with water. Like it's a struggle for me. Yeah, you're really in flow there. Also, there's like crazy health benefits to orgasming.
Oh yeah.
And it releases DHEA, it lowers blood pressure, it improves your cardiovascular. Like it's one of the number one ways to prevent heart disease, keeps you looking longer. So when you really look at it, you're like, no, like this is good.
Yeah.
I see why people would have promoted that it was bad based on the times, but times have changed and I'm changing with them.
Yeah.
Honey.
Literally. I think the other thing I would say is I know I've given this advice before, is read more sex positive material. I think like when I was younger and I thought of like sex positive things, I would think of things like Sex in the City, which like they talk about sex, but it's not educational and it's not, I don't necessarily find it like empowering because I'm like, I can't relate to her closet. I can't relate to her lifestyle. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to relate to the sex part. And that's hard. But I think like finding sex positive material that is also doesn't have to do with like ways to please your man, like how to get your husband, blah, 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 things that are targeted towards younger people. And even like TV shows that have people having more casual sex, not that you're having casual sex, but I think that's the most sex positive kind of language, because when they're talking about like sex positivity in like marriages or long-term relationships, that feels like in my mind that's like conditionally positive. And it's like, no, I want to hear like sex positive, you're having sex with like a different person every night, this is all fine, whatever. Also, don't watch the current season of Bachelor in Paradise because it's very slut-shaming.
What's your favorite sex positive books that for you made a massive impact?
I mean, I didn't even read books. For me, it was just I did this thing like probably how long has Trump been in office?
3 years?
3 years. I basically unfollowed every single person on Twitter and refollowed everyone. And I just curated everything with like very like left liberal content and lots of like sex positive, like any sort of content. And just, I literally like, it's so much of me is just like Twitter, then deep diving to people retweeting articles and finding articles that way. And then we will look up tons of articles. I'm like a fiend on my phone for that kind of stuff. And I've never read a book, but I definitely like would love to. But even TV shows, like I remember the first time I watched Broad City, and it wasn't like it wasn't like this like educational casual sex thing. It was just like, it's like the first time you see like a queer character represented on TV, and like the storyline is not that they're gay. It's just they're there. And that was the thing with Broad City. I'm like, oh, you're just like having sex, and like we're not like it's not necessarily, we're not talking about it in a way of like, oh my gosh. It's just like this is normal, and all of these characters are doing this, and it's totally normal and fine. And that for me was very like, oh wow, this is really cool. And also opened up the conversation to me talking to my friends about it, which I think is also like the most liberating thing, because even if you're really, really close with your friends and you feel comfortable talking about like a lot of stuff, like sexual partners and things like that, I don't know, at least even for me, like when I was having like, I wouldn't even say I necessarily had like casual sex and when I was like in college, but like, you know, like hooking up, like sleeping with like people that was friends with or whatever, there's still like, it felt weird to then tell my friends until we start talking about it. And I was like, oh, we're all why are we not talking about this? Like we're all doing this. And I think when you're younger, it's hard to talk to your friends about it, but then you realize like, oh, everybody's doing it. It's not just the girls that I called like, oh, she's a slut. Like she had like, everyone's having sex. Yeah. Like the girl with like, I didn't have transition lenses the first time I had sex, but I mean like, you know, like I was not like the poster child of like the girl that you'd see like, who's wearing like an Abercrombie crop top and like, oh wow, she's a slut. Like here I am in my like gauchos being like, I'm having sex too. Like, I don't know, like that for me made it more accessible because it wasn't like this thing that like sturdy girls did.
Yes.
You know?
And my favorite definition of slut is just the perception of somebody who has a more sexually exciting life than you. So when I call someone a slut, it's really a reflection on my own sexual life and my perception of what you're doing that I'm not.
And then it's a compliment.
It really is.
Like, call me a slut.
Call me a slut.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, daddy. Okay. Also, Mott's his band. I literally made a joke to him, my boyfriend. I was like, we were watching something where someone called someone daddy in bed, and I kept being like, what would you do? He's like, no fucking way. And I keep trying to, and he will not let me. Why don't you do the Spanish version? Do papi or this? Oh my God. I think he would throw me across the room. I truly think he would just be like,
you got to find the German word. What's the German word for dad? Let's get that going.
He'd be like, bless you.
It's
Did
Vader,
you sneeze?
like, because Darth Vader means dark father.
Why do you know this? Look it up. Yes.
Yeah. Wait, that's so funny.
Vidal.
But he's going to be like Darth?
With a French accent.
Darth? My good friend Darth? Oh, that's so funny. Well, is it time for a break?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be back.
Vader.
Support from today's show comes from ThirdLove. With more than 70 sizes, including their signature half-cup sizes, ThirdLove delivers designs bras with breast size and shape in mind for a perfect fit and a premium feel. You guys know this is truly the one and only bra that I love. It is so incredibly comfortable. Straps don't dig into you. They don't look weird under clothes. Like it's a bra that like you look cute in the bra when you're like, you know, feeling yourself. And then you also look cute like when you're in your bra in clothes, which I think is so important because I like want to feel cute both, you know, when you're covering your bra and when you're like just in your bra. This is hands down the most comfortable bra you'll own with straps that won't slip and tagless labels. Not to mention lightweight, super thin memory foam cups that mold to the shape and are proprietary to ThirdLove. Best of all, every customer has 60 days to wear it, wash it, and put it to the test. And if you don't love it, you can return it, and ThirdLove will wash it and donate it to a woman in need. ThirdLove knows there's a perfect bra for everyone, so right now they're offering my listeners 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/blame now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/blame for 15% off today. You are adventurous and inquisitive. You're open to trying new things. You're curious about astrology, but don't know how to take the first step. If this sounds like you, or really even if it doesn't, you should check out the Parcast Network new astrology podcast, Horoscope Today. Parcast now has a daily horoscope podcast for all 12 signs of the zodiac. These 2 to 3 minute daily podcasts will give you your daily guidance and affirmations tailored specifically for your zodiac sign by a professional team of astrologers. The series is the first of its kind in the podcast space. You can listen to a brand new horoscope for every sign every single day. Listen daily to find out what the universe has in store for you. Find Horoscope Today for free on Spotify and anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Simply search your zodiac sign and the word today. For example, Aries today, Gemini today, or Capricorn today, or Leo today, or visit parcast.com/horoscope to listen now. Okay, guys, we are back from our break, and we're going to hop into the rest of the calls.
Hi, Meghan and Melissa and potential guests. I'm 22 years old, and I'm kind of just going through, a weird phase. I had a pretty abusive boyfriend when I was in high school, and I dated him for 3.5 years. And then when I was out of high school, I went on Tinder, when I went to college, and I had a little bit of a hoe phase. I was emotionally detached from the world. And then I met my ex-boyfriend, and I ended up losing my virginity to him. And I was really in love with him, and then we were together for a little over a year. Then he cheated on me. So once again, after that relationship ended, I became super emotionally detached from the world, and I had a little bit of a hoe phase again. And then I met my most recent ex-boyfriend, and I fell in love with him, and it was my first adult relationship. I feel I was graduated from college, and I was just in an overall better mental place, and I could go out and drink, and I could really just do whatever I wanted. And I lived alone, and he lived alone. So it was a really good relationship, but things ended up ending pretty badly with him as well. So once again, I'm finding myself in this emotionally detached realm, and it's been almost a year since he and I have broken up, and I keep passing up nice guys because I'm scared of getting hurt again, and I'm just so tired of history repeating itself over and over and over again. I feel every couple of years I do this, where I meet someone nice and I give them a chance, and then they hurt me, and then I start hurting other people, and I don't really know what else to do. I started going to therapy around the same time that he and I broke up last year, and I've been doing that pretty consistently, and I've been working out and overall trying to do all the stuff that people say will improve your mental health, but none of it's really helping. I still miss him a lot, and I still wonder why, what it is about me that makes the 3 men in my life that I've ever really loved really see me as so disposable. I don't even know really what I'm asking. Just maybe advice for what to do and how to move past that mental block when I go on dates. Because I'll go on a date and I will just drive home and hate them already. Even if the date was fun, I had a good time, and I want to see them again. Usually by day 2, the next day, I'm I don't really want to do that again. Even though they didn't do anything wrong, I just kind of find little things and I just harp on them. I don't know. Any advice you have would be great. Thanks.
I mean, I truly think there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, at all. I think, I don't want to be you're not special or whatever, but, I feel I've said this. All of my friends have had this. I've countless people. This is just kind when you're saying, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You've dated 3 guys who it ended up sucking. And we've all every relationship ends until it doesn't, and that one will also end probably in death. Everything ends at some point. I think going to therapy is fantastic. I'm assuming and hoping you're talking about this with your therapist, because that your dating life and your outlook, how you date for you right now is obviously reflecting a lot how you feel about yourself. And so your mental health is also tied to that. And so I don't know if you're not bringing up dating in therapy because it feels like a trivial, lame, stupid thing, but it's definitely not. It's definitely something to talk about with your therapist. And I also wonder, if you haven't had, I don't want to say healing from all of these other relationships, but if you've taken a year-long break from that since your last one, which I think is great. And we've talked about this. It's retraining yourself when you have a type that's shitty and detrimental, you have to retrain yourself to not be attracted to that. And then, not that I'm saying that you're seeking out those kinds of relationships. I also think there's just like also a lot of really shitty guys in the world who just like happen to like lurk on dating apps and like wait for it would happen to anyone. But I think if you think that there's something that you're seeking out, and like when you're going on dates with nice guys, I think it's also valid. There doesn't have to be anything wrong with someone to like you don't have to like everyone. You're not going to like everyone. I constantly would go on dates and then be like, I fucking hated that person. I made out with them for an hour, but I did not like them. Will not call them again. Like, not into it. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just like, it's not a connection. And like, they don't have to have something like crazy wrong with them for you to be allowed to not like them. You're just allowed to not like them. But I'd also wonder, like, is there something, if you can look at what you're attracted to, is it healthy? And like, are you attracted to things that, like, your first relationship you said was like incredibly toxic? Are there things that, were you retrained to think of like negative things and reinterpret them as love? And is that something that when a guy who's doing that, which from the outside someone might be like, that's not good, that's not like a nice way to treat someone, but you're like, oh no, that's my love language, is you talking shit about me? Like, is there something like that you feel has gotten you there? Because otherwise I think like this is just, I don't want to say like the story of being young and dating, but it kind of is.
Yes. I am so like in the middle of what you just said. But I'm like, there's so many things that the truth of the matter is that it kind of has to be her.
Yeah.
And that's great news, because there's two kinds of people. There's people that life happens to, and there's people who are happening to life. And so if you're not in control, if you're not the common denominator and you can't figure out what you can do differently, then like, you're SOL. And you should do what you're doing, which is entering every situation with fear, because you have no control over the outcome. So all you can do is hope. There's obviously something here that you can do. And I think that you made an incredible point just now in that let's acknowledge it's hard out here, honey. Like, it is very difficult. And I refer to this time period in people's lives from the ages of like 16 to like 26, 27 even, as like your practice years, because we live in a society that has, of course, pushed the age of marriage past way later. But also our society, especially America, pushes this notion that relationships are a distraction to your self-betterment. That if you want to get ahead in life, like, don't settle down, don't get too serious too quick, because your job right now is to make money, buy a house, build equity, et cetera, versus, hey, relationships are a healthy contributing part to your overall self-betterment, to your mental health, and to your career health, as a matter of fact. So treat these seriously and ethically and learn how to do them well. So people are in this bizarre space where biologically they're driven to make bonds, but socially they're told, like, don't worry about them. And so I think that creates a lot of shitty behavior. And so you're looking for somebody who's an ethical dater during the practice years. Somebody who's like, okay, look, even though we may not be going for forever, we're going to try to get to know ourselves better through this circumstance and come out of it and be able to leapfrog to the next better situation, or stay in the situation, to your point. I think that like what the problem is during this years is that every relationship, like kind of certain, like with jobs, at a certain place when you're at jobs, every job should be getting you a little closer to your dream job. And you shouldn't be leaving jobs, having to rediscover who you are, go to therapy, crawl back to your sense of self and purpose, only to then try to look for a new job. You're supposed to end one job and say, that was great. I learned about myself. I taught that person. I contributed to that company. And now I'm going to move on to something different. So unfortunately, you're choosing people who not only are you ending it, but you actually have to go back and rediscover who you are, because you were so damaged and hurt in these relationships. So there, to your point, is warning signs that you're not picking up on. I think it's important to acknowledge that love is a drug, love is addictive, and love is based on proximity. It's a natural pair bond that occurs. And so loving someone is not enough. You have to be consciously aware of like, what kind of person are you loving and what kind of signs are they showing? Because it's up to you to really pick people that you're going to leave that situation and say, I like who that made me, and I'm excited about who I'm going to meet next as a result of what I learned through that partnership.
Oh my God. You are so fucking wise. I just like, do you want to be my third therapist?
Girl,
I really can't do it 3 times.
This is the thing. And the fact, I think that your audience goes to therapy because of like the example that you said.
That makes me really happy.
That was like, yeah, these callers are off the chain.
Well, it makes me so happy that to hear people going to like therapy, because like therapy, like, it's fantastic, but it's also like super fucking hard. And like, I was anxious to go to therapy. Like I was nervous to like make my first appointment. So like, it makes me happy that I'm like, okay, I finally did it. And also I finally went to the gynecologist. Now people are also going. And
Hey,
like, maybe
shout
I
out
should.
to you. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right. And I think it makes like that also like that speaks so much. It's also that age and those years and everything like that. Like I think back to like, my boyfriend definitely has similar traits to like guys I've always been attracted to. But I remember like the first people that I was always attracted to, like guys that I was into or dated or whatever, like the qualities that I was really into, it wasn't like, oh, he was a nice guy. It's like, oh, he's really confident. Like he's really assertive. He's really cocky. And then the older that you get, I'm like, oh, I'm going after these people who are kind of like, it is the practice years. And they're like, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care.
Right.
And it's like, oh, but like this could be so fun. And then it's like, ah, fuck it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so attracted to this fuck it. And then I'm like, oh, well, you just fucked me over. Cool. And so it becomes that thing. But like as I got older and my boyfriend I started dating when he was like towards the end of his practice years, and I was definitely still in mine, but I like was very done with my practice years. I was
Are you
like,
done with it now?
Oh yeah, I'm done. I mean, we're gonna end up. We'll end up together. Like we've been together for like 4 years now, and I'm like, we live together. I'm like, we're good. I'm also like 45 in a 26-year-old's body, where I'm just like, I'm already ready to peace out. I was ready to peace. I like stopped drinking at 19. I was like, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I've aged through all of this stuff. But yeah, just how we approach relationships is so different. And I think about it in the sense of like, once I started dating someone who was older than me, how he approached a relationship was so different than every other guy I dated who was my age, who was like also in that bracket of like, oh, we're just like figuring it out. But like, I felt like not that I want to say I was like figuring it out faster, but it's like the same way, like you want a partnership that's going to like, you want like a partnership. You don't just want to be like, oh, let's like fuck it and see if this kind of works. And like, I don't care if your feelings get hurt. So I think it's maybe potentially if it's you try dating someone who's like a little bit older. But also, and like you said, warning signs, talk to your friends. Your friends who love you so much are probably tight fucking lipped about these guys that you date because they want to keep you. I think they're doing the right thing, which is not just shit talking every person that you date because they want to be there in your life. But if you open up those floodgates, if I had friends who came to me and they was like, hey, my ex-boyfriend, like, I just like, can we talk? I'd be like, oh girl, I've been holding it in for like so fucking long.
Statistically, friends and family can predict divorce better than anybody else.
That makes total sense and they can also see and they can tell you. And like my best friend had like a very like sit down conversation with me because I was that career person where I was like, oh, I'm not going to date. Like, it's just going to happen. She was like, FYI, it's not just going to happen. You're going to have to put the fucking work in because you're not going to end up with the first person you start seriously dating and you have to date now or you're going to die alone. And I was like, oh,
yes,
wow.
friend.
Okay. Yeah. And she was and she treated dating when she got into her 20s and she wanted to be in a relationship. She treated it like a job. She treated like job interviews and meeting with people. And like, it wasn't like, oh, all the eggs in one basket with each person and then like being devastated every time. It was like, no, I'm going to figure this out, figure out what I like. And then I get here and I'm like, okay, cool. This was awesome. And I was like, wow, this is so much better than I've been doing. And I've been like holding out as if I'm going on The Bachelor and being like, no, I'll just see them. And in 4 days we'll fall in love. It'll be fantastic.
What's so crucial about that advice is that it's the practice years for a reason. Like I refer to it like some people are motel daters. Like they date like, I don't give a fuck. My home training's on pause. I'm stealing shit. I'm never coming back to this place again. Burn it down. Yeah. And are you going to do that and then expect that when you meet the right person, you're going to have the skills to have a healthy partnership? If you haven't been showing up in loving, intimate connections as the quality of kind of life partner material, you're not going to magically know how to do that when it actually counts.
On to the next.
Hey, Megan. So basically my issue is my boyfriend or my partner, I guess, I don't know, we live together, has recently gone on a boys' trip with his friends. So he's been gone for about 3 days now. So he left on Monday, came back on Friday. Anyway, so not a super long trip, but like I said, we live together. So it's like super weird for him to like be away, if that makes sense. Like it's just weird being in the house alone and all this stuff. Anyway, I suffer from like depression and anxiety. Fun, who doesn't? Anyway, but my issue is that like when I feel like I'm like too dependent on him. Like I love him so incredibly much. Like he's my best friend, which is great, but it also makes me feel kind of lost when he's gone. And he's got a lot of trips coming up recently. Like he's got, like I said, there was this boys trip and he's got a couple of other sporting trips coming up. And I just feel really like lonely and depressed when he's gone. And it just makes me feel really pathetic. Like I feel like, I'm supposed to be the strong, independent woman who don't need no man. And I just feel like really down when he's gone and like all this stuff. And last time he went on a trip was about last year. And a trip like without me. At that point, we weren't living together, but I got into a really bad kind of depressive spiral over that time. And like that was only a long weekend. And like after that kind of depressive spiral, I just kind of kept spiraling and ended up on antidepressants. So yeah, I try to distract myself. I try and keep myself busy. But like I just feel like my depression gets the better of me, especially when he's gone, and I don't want to have to rely on him, obviously, to keep me sane and keep me happy, because that's not what I want. I want to be able to do that on my own. And like I said, I try and keep busy and distract myself, but it feels like it just doesn't work, and I always end up back in this kind of like depressive slump. So I guess I'm just kind of looking for some advice on like what to do and how to cope with it. It would be really great. Yeah, just like it sucks feeling like I need him here when I want him to be able to kind of go off and do his own thing without me. But like right now, it just kind of feels like whenever he's kind of, off doing these things without me, I just kind of start panicking internally and being like, oh my God, here we go again. I'm going to feel shitty for the next however long he's gone. So yeah, any help you could give me would be great, and any advice. But yeah, I love your podcast. Thank you so much.
I want you to start with this one because I relate so much to this. So I really want to hear what you have to say.
No, I think I want to hear what you have to say if you have a personal relation to it.
I mean, this is like very much, I totally relate to this. I'm very much the same way. And the whole thing my first overall thing is I'm going to recommend is therapy, because your reaction, as I've said on the podcast before, what my therapist refers to it as, if it's hysterical, it's historical. And logically, your boyfriend being gone for a weekend shouldn't make you this upset. And the reason why, there is a reason why it's making you this upset. It's not that you're sensitive. It's not anything else like that. And I don't want to like diagnose you or anything like that. But as my therapist says, it's any sort of like underlying like childhood trauma or like abandonment issues or anything like that. Like it has to be something that you felt this feeling before, and you felt this feeling so many times and enough, and it had like a negative it had a negative effect, or not even a negative effect, but like it ended badly, where it's like, yes, he's going on these boys trips, nothing's going wrong, but something has happened that gives you the similar feeling, and something did go wrong, and that keeps happening and happening. And that's why this reaction, at least for me, that's because I've literally had the exact same thing with my therapist. I'm like, why am I losing my mind? And it was like, well, it has nothing to do with this. Like it has everything to do with like everything else. And it's unpacking all of that stuff and finding and being able to work with a therapist also. And if you then talk to a therapist, and there's so many different kinds of therapy, but if you talk to a therapist and maybe it isn't necessarily some like specific like thing in your history or trauma thing or whatever, and there's tools that they can give you to teach you to like help you figure that out. And if you haven't experienced, like if this is a new level of like anxiety and depression, because like for me, I'm like, oh, I know how to deal with different levels of like feeling anxious or whatever, but then there's certain ones, and like literally this was like what my entire session was yesterday, where I was like, there's other ones that I'm like, this is fucking foreign, and like everything that I normally do to make myself feel better, like distractions, all of that stuff, like isn't necessarily working. And it's about figuring out why you feel that way. And then once you figure out why, which for me, I was like, well, I know, like now that we know why, like let's fix it. But the more that you can figure out why, that's how you can rationalize with yourself. And that idea that like you want to do everything yourself, very much totally relate to that. You can't do everything yourself in your life at all. Like it's not this one man show. This is my own race. This is my own thing. I need to figure this stuff out all on my own. Because you're not going to be able to. Like, you're not going to be able to like, if you have any sort of like childhood things, like those are things that you don't really like think about as much. You need someone, not even someone to like lean on to like do that, but like someone that you can talk to so you guys can figure it out together, to empower you to know, oh, this is why I feel this way and this is how I can feel a different way. But if if you just keep everything like that all in your head, at least for me, that's when it becomes like not just an anxiety spiral, but like a shame spiral of being like, why am I doing this? But the second that, for me, like when I vocalize that to a therapist and talking about it, it's like, oh, okay, like this isn't me being crazy. This isn't me being sensitive. Like there are things I can do. It's not just, oh, buck up, you'll get over it, you'll be fine. And the feeling of feeling like you're being crazy, at least for me, is like such an igniting anxiety feeling in general. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm being fucking crazy, then my anxiety brain is like, oh, you're feeling crazy? Want to feel even more fucking crazy? Like we're going to shut down. And so I think like the more that you can talk about it and then find certain things, like if there are certain things that like make you specifically anxious, if you can find them, and maybe it will take a while before it's not just like this big overarching like anxiety, like dark spiral. If you can find certain things, like we literally, like every time Mats goes out of town, we have like a game plan of being like, okay, and we'll talk about it like in therapy, like the week that he's before he goes. And it's like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. Like in the morning, you're going to call and you're going to text and you're going to do this and it's going to be this. And then Meghan, you're going to go do this with your friends in this day. And you're going to make sure that you're going to go work out and that's going to feel great. You're not going to like watch any like sad shows. Like you're going to like lots of positive content. Like a friend's going to sleep over and like you're going to check in, you're going to FaceTime and all of that. And then that becomes like the retraining, at least for me, of like retraining. So my reaction doesn't always get like that, because then it's like, oh, we're doing these things and it's not just all on me emotionally. It's like, this is actual conversations and you doing things and then me doing things. And it doesn't ignite that like trauma side of my brain that like, I'm not even necessarily conscious of, that I'm taking this same like visceral feeling and just like diving with it to something that's totally unrelated. I can really connect with like actually what is happening here right now and how do I feel right now and how are we addressing like the current situation at hand. But that's also just me like with going to therapy twice a week, self-diagnosing you and being like, you are me. That's at least in my opinion, when I deal with this all the time, that's how I feel.
That was awesome. I mean, there's not like a ton I can
Am I right,
topically
though?
contribute. I mean,
I
mean,
know.
this is the thing is I think all of these are anecdotal in a sense because you don't have the full breadth of conversation. But I love that idea of coming up with a game plan that is mutual responsibility. That's not just all on you. Like there are people, there's accountability partners. You have a plan of action, and when you have a plan, you can relax a little bit because you know what to come next. And so I think maybe that's a part of it too. Is that your routine is thrown off, your usual structure is thrown off. So creating a new structure might really help your anxiety. I think it's also massively important to acknowledge that like we are born to bond. We are community-based pair bonding mammals. And I think about this in terms of human superpower is our ability to connect to one another. And I don't mean that in like some hokey shit way, like our true power is to love. I just mean genuinely like we don't run the fastest. We don't have the sharpest claws. Our teeth are not the sharpest. If it was us versus a bear, a lion, an elephant, we'd fucking die. But together as a community, we are powerful. That to be said, 300 years ago, if you get isolated by your core tribe, if you're left alone and they go off without you, your fight or flight's going to ignite because you don't have a chance out there by yourself. So your brain, when you're isolated, when you're away from your security net, from your tribe, from your individual and your person, you're going to feel unsafe because again, you're biologically bred to believe that when you are a lone wolf, you don't have a chance out there. So I think a lot of those insecurities or that fear just comes from, I guess, that natural biological indicator that says, hey, the person who's here to protect me, the person who's there to keep me safe is no longer around. I'm vulnerable. What do I do? I think that, again, like I'm such a big fan of like the reading up on like why love is so addictive, you know, what love does on the brain, and acknowledging that. I travel a lot away from my partner and we interchange I love you with I'm addicted to you. Like, and is that cute? I don't know.
I think that's cute.
Sometimes I'm like, listen, like the more like boring my work trip is, the more that I'll miss that person.
Oh yeah.
And so then there'll be times where I'm like sick with worry, and he's actually going away for the first time and leaving me in the house by myself like next week. And there's concerns I have with that, but I also know where those are all coming from. I know it's not actual rational thought. I know it's like, again, like some biological needs or that I feel like is putting me in fight, flight, or freeze, or I should be in actual threat. But I have to rationalize to myself, I'm like, bitch, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can invite your friend's dog over, exactly what you said, come up with some kind of game plan or strategy, but also give yourself grace, because when you are that closely linked with someone, your serotonin levels are balanced by each other. You know, your dopamine receptors are balanced by each other. That person's an integral part of your daily cycle. And when they're removed, it's going to be problems. Just like if you had a smoking addiction and you stopped smoking for 5 days, it would be a rough 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, oh my God. Wow. Wow, I feel like I've gone to another therapy session this week, except I'm not crying this time.
Are you addicted to your love?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I got the itch bad, y'all.
Yeah.
And I know that. And it's like, there's healthy addictions out there in this world. And that's why I say to people that like, love essentially is like when you if you went into a room that had like LSD, crack, cocaine, meth, K's one, right? That's one of the drugs.
That's the ketamine.
Okay,
oh
yes.
God, I had a friend who did that once, and I was like, "Not cool, dude. Stop!" Like, what the fuck? That's a horse tranquilizer. You weigh 90 pounds.
What's the one that you take before you get a hit of it before you die? It's one that Joe Rogan he touts a lot. I think it starts with like a D or something like that. Apparently, like just before like an animal it gets eaten.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what
it's
is
like that
one?
final.
Yeah.
I'm looking
It's
at
a chemical
DMT.
that Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow, was that just in a movie or a show? Why do I? Maybe I just read something about it recently because they literally just read about that too.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it's this incredible feeling. But anyhow, so all that to say is if you had all these drugs laid out and no one explained to you the addictive property of drugs and you walked into a room and they said, just try one, you would get addicted to the first one that you tried. And so like that's the same thing with love. Love is indiscriminate. You're going to make a bond regardless, but you make a healthy choice. It sounds like this girl made a really great choice.
Yeah.
That her addiction is a healthy one and it balances her out and it gives her space and love and security and all of the things. It's just learning how to manage when that addiction when that addictive property isn't around you, as no person can ever be.
Yeah, and you also can't do it alone. You have to do it with him, and it has to be a conversation where he's also willing and able. And even if it's not something not that I'm saying he doesn't necessarily like, so much of my things come from like childhood stuff that like my boyfriend has no experience with, whatever. So it's not necessarily his instinct like, oh yeah, I feel the exact same way. It's getting him on your level to understand that, but it's hard to take away the shame of that because you just feel like you're being clingy and crazy, and it's a relationship, and like you want him to like you more than like you like him. But it like you're saying, like it's chemical. It's not even necessarily like, oh, I like him more than he likes me, and that's why I miss him. It's like it's a routine, and especially like for me, like if I'm feeling like super depressed, like I thrive off of a routine. And if my routine is thrown off, and like my boyfriend, and if Mons is not there, and I'm like doing my own, my routine's not the same. And it's like it just gets, when you get into those routines that like help your mental health feel a lot better. Anytime that switches up, I think can be really hard.
Are you anxiously attached?
What's that mean?
You know, I mean, in attachment theory, which everyone should look into, and you probably should chat about with your therapist. It's a way of figuring out how people create bonds to other people. And there's secure, anxious, there's fearful, avoidant, and there's avoidant, dismissive. So that might be something just to kind of check out.
Probably. I'm just constantly getting new things of being like, they're the other 4-letter like acronyms, and then this one too. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll buy more.
I feel
books.
like attached is kind of like the new love languages. It's like making a splash. Yeah. It's making a splash into pop culture. So
I like that. I did look up once if I was codependent, and then I was like, no. I tried to think about it because I was like, am I codependent? I just watched a YouTube video of a girl who was like talking about codependency. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm codependent. And then I read it all and I was like, no, I'm not. And then I was like, this is what people do on like, I do like the like mental health version of like self-diagnosing on like, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I have that. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't.
I would think that you're somebody who probably was, because attachment theory comes from childhood.
Yeah.
And like an anxious attached person would have had a parent who was smothering at times, but very distant at other times, like created, nothing creates an addiction like an inconsistent reward. And if you have a parent who has inconsistent parenting styles, that can create that anxiety, that anxious attachment. But it sounds like you are probably secure now. Like you've put the work in through time, through therapy.
Yeah, therapy's rough.
Through self-love, that you probably now err on the side of like a securely attached person.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this. I mean, Melissa's like,
sounds about right.
You're nailing it on the head.
Yeah.
My God. Well, I have big faith for you and your relationship and all of this stuff, but therapy again is always the advice. Do we have time? It is the time.
Yeah.
It is the time for don't blame them. What were we doing before? Oh, don't blame them.
Don't blame them.
And this is when listeners call in with their own advice from previous episodes. So if they've experienced something similar and they want to give their own personal advice.
Little audio comment thread. Live in.
Hi, Meghan. I am calling in regards to the girl who called about her boyfriend, who he was interested in pegging. So I actually had a similar situation like this. I was dating a guy, and he, asked me if that was something that I'd be interested in. At first, I was kind of taken aback, and it took me a little while to get comfortable with it. And per what she was saying, he definitely had the stereotypical like quote unquote masculine qualities. And I never, thought that I would see him any different, but it was something in my own head that I had to get over. So we kind of talked about it a lot. And one day we actually went to a sex shop, and like we together picked out, like a harness, and like picked out all the items that you would need for that. And it's actually like pretty hot. And then like by the time we finally did it, like I, had a couple drinks, and it was really fun. It was definitely interesting, and it definitely brought us a lot closer. And like one of you were saying, it was a total power trip. So I think, to the girl, like it's not going to change your thoughts. It's, something that feels great for them, and it's totally empowering for you. And it's a really fun time. So I think you should try it. Bye.
I feel like I would feel so powerful.
Me too.
Like so fucking powerful. Like I would just like, I mean, I've always wondered what it's like to like have a dick and just be like, I can do whatever. Like, like
Yes.
I would just be like a white man with a dick, and I would just feel fucking, the world would be at my fingertips. And I can't even imagine that kind of power. But I think it's a nice way to make it sexy.
Mm-hmm. Power dynamics and power play is so sexy in sex.
Mm-hmm. And I also just think of any time with sex toys. Has anyone seen the photo of Junie Cortez from Spy Kids? He was a little boy in Spy Kids. He's an adult now, which is why this story's okay.
Okay. I was like, where are you going with this?
Love that movie, but I was also a kid when it came out. He is married to Meghan Trainor, who sings...
Bass.
I'm all about that.
Yeah,
This
really
what
good.
is that? Why is that the
I
dance?
don't know, but she does. Like all I remember was that. And I was like in pastel colors and headbands. And they were photographed walking out of like a sex shop with like big bags, just like full of shit. And it was like right when they started dating. And I was like, I love this for them. Like Junie Cortez, where have you been since Spy Kids? At a sex shop. And I just loved it. I was like, that's also like a bold move as like a celebrity to go to like a sex toy shop in LA.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah,
go ahead.
You're cool getting photographed. I'm here for this. Mm-hmm. So I love that. I think it's it's a great thing. And I mean, we touched on masculinity as like a very weird concept. It's like a not real thing. Or like not like a gender specific sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's a great thing if you want to.
Shifting the culture takes a while. Did you see that GMA host who made that ballet comment?
Yeah.
But I also acknowledge that shifting the culture takes time, and that she's an older lady, and she probably grew up again like with 40 plus years of a certain messaging being taught to her. And even if she does have a different perspective now, you still have bits of that still kind of kicking around. That's the thing with racism. Like, you might be 70 and not racist, but you're probably a little bit racist just by virtue of the fact that for 40 years that was the norm. So I just think that, like we've just heard a lot of messaging around what masculinity is, and a lot of, even recently, remember that movie with Chris Rock where the guy liked his finger in the butt, and it was like the punchline of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
There's still remnants of that in our culture. And so give yourself some grace if it's still a little bit inside of you. It takes a while to like let that wash away.
Yeah. And I think until you're surrounded by hearing the opposite narrative, it just becomes something that like you're the outlier when you only hear of like, oh wow, like that's so gross, that's so that. And if you're not thinking that, you're not necessarily hearing that it's not. So then if you think the other way, you're like, oh, I'm wrong. No one's talking about it this way. You have to like actively seek out that stuff. Speaking of finger in the butt stuff, we were talking, I was like with a bunch of my friends once, and we were, I'm not going to give too much context because then I'll really give away exactly who it is. I don't have that many friends. And one of like, some of the guys were like joking and making fun of like that it was the same thing, like punch and like finger in the butt. And then our friend who is by standard definition, like the most like quote unquote masculine, like he's a guy's guy. He's the guy that all of the guys have crushed, like I want to be his friend so bad. He is so cool. He literally walks up with like a very deep husky voice. He goes, no, if you never had a finger in your butt, you're not a real fucking man. And all the other guys were like, oh, I have to go get a finger in my butt. I have to go get a finger in my butt.
I told this story to someone, but I couldn't remember who told it to me. And yeah.
And it was just so funny to see these guys have another guy who they look up to say like, yeah, no, that's fine. And they were like, oh, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do that now. I was like, oh, so you didn't have these like, oh, that's disgusting feelings. Really? Like you were just saying that. And then someone said something different that you're like, oh no, I'm going to listen to him. And you're like, oh, cool.
You know what's so fascinating about that story is I'm sure every person who's listening had a different picture of like what this hyper masculine guy looked like. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Cause it's like, it's just like what the fuck is masculinity? Like,
Right.
what does that even mean?
So changing.
And also the fact that it's like, it's tied so much with like cisgendered men being masculine too. And it's like, yeah, I had a whole like,
I'm masculine as fuck.
I was like, yeah,
I'm so masculine.
I like feel that like I when BDE became a thing, like big dick energy, the immediate first person I thought of who had BDE, I was me and Melissa. And I was like, oh, we don't, okay.
Yeah,
was this
us.
supposed to be for men? Like this was supposed to be for people with penises. Cause I was like, oh, BDE. Oh yeah, it's fucking us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Pete Davidson for sure. Sorry, not the first person I thought of. Like, you know? So like, yeah, it's just it's an odd thing. But that's it for our episode. We have to have you back on. This was so fantastic. Please plug everything, your book, your YouTube, all of your shit.
I'm just plugging my book. I have a book out. It's called The Game of Desire. It's about approaching connection with a strategy.
When I heard you talk about it on Candace and Kayla's podcast, also when you said you had like hours,
I brought that shit.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Oh my god! And when you said you have like hours of quizzes on your web, I am literally, that is all I'm doing tonight.
Yes.
I love quizzes. I love quizzes so much.
My favorite attachment theory quiz is linked on there, so I'd actually be curious to know.
Okay. Ooh. Oh my god! I'm so excited. This is my plan for tonight. Quizzes. Well, Mott's has fantasy football draft. That's it for our episode, guys. If you want to call and be on an upcoming episode, leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio file at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our goddamn website, don'tblameme.show, to find out all the places to listen. And we're on YouTube, watch us, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that shit, Stitcher, all that good shit. And is there anything? Oh, our Instagram, Don't Blame Meme Pod. Check it. And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. What's the one dish from your favorite restaurant that you can never recreate at home? Let DoorDash bring it to you. Ordering is easy. Just open the DoorDash app, choose what you want to eat, and your Dasher will bring it to you wherever you are. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off their first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter promo code BLAME. That's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app from the App Store and enter promo code BLAME. Again, one more time. That's promo code BLAME for $5 off your first order from DoorDash. Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts. Camera operator Amanda Lechner. And music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso, part of the HerPod Network.